Hey there, comic book fans. I am back from the comic shop this week, and it was a pretty big week for me. I got 8 new comics, including this issue of Love and Rockets, number 2, which is the volume 5. There's the Jaime Hernandez back cover. They switch every issue, and there's the Gilberto Hernandez front cover. And I just reread issue 1 of this yesterday, and because it's my habit to read all my comics twice before I put them away. And I gotta say, I really liked that first issue even better the second time around, because it was like the Jaime story, which is about Maggie and Hopi, who are two characters who in the 80s were like these young punk rock chicks, and now they're middle-aged women living their lives because the story has moved forward in real time. Matter of fact, a lot of the people were mad at Love and Rockets early on because Maggie and I knew some punk rock chicks back in college who kind of really related to them because, there were other comics about the everyday lives of punk rock chicks. And but then they kind of broke them up in terms of, after a few years, they went their own separate ways, storytelling-wise, Maggie and Hopi. And for I don't know how long it was, 15, 20 years they were apart. And everybody was like, when are Maggie and Hopi getting back together? To a point where they stopped caring, some of the people wanted, but eventually they did. But it was a long, long time. So last issue had the first story was just kind of Maggie and Hopi and a bunch of their gang hanging out, listening to a rock show and talking and just being themselves. And I have to say, for the first time, I really related to all the characters because, you don't relate to every character you read about. But I think it was their aging that made me relate to them because they're all hanging out, having a good time, but they're all middle-aged now. Sort of like me. Back in the 80s, we were all young, and I think I first discovered Love and Rockets when I was going to college. And it was just interesting. It just struck me, reading it that second time around, that, wow, I can actually relate to these characters for the first time. And this is Gilbert's story, which, man, if you're coming in on this, it got really confusing because the story is about, see these two redheads here? There's twin sisters, I guess, who never knew each other. And I think her name is Baby, and her mother is Fritz. And Fritz is a longtime character who is like this sort of Mexican, because a lot of this takes place in Mexico. Or some small village that he made up in Mexico. And she's a movie star there, and this is her daughter, and she's like the most famous movie star. And there's all these movie stars that imitate her, there's porn stars that imitate her. It just got real confusing as they were telling the story. But she's meeting her sister for the first time. You really have to keep track of things reading Gilbert's story. But like I said, I really enjoyed the first issue, especially that second time around, and I'm looking forward to this. And next we have Planetoid Praxis. And look, there's a flip book, too. Other Things, he had a little short story at the end of the last one, which I guess is Other Things. I can't remember what it was. It was a little slice of life story that had nothing to do with the main story. I think there's a mini that's going up to 5 or 6 issues. I can't remember which, but I believe we had a little time jump on the last one of this, too, but it's just about these people living on a planetoid now, trying to make their way in life. They've got all different cultures and stuff. And there might be some outside interference from another race of people coming down. But it's all kind of like this, they live in this crash dystopia of a planetoid. They're just trying to get by. The first series was about a guy landing there and discovering it and getting off. But now this is just all about these people living there. And I guess you'd call it a sci-fi series. I've liked it so far. I'm sticking with it. It's a good story. Check it out. And that's just one of their pets that I think lives there, the lizard. So give it a read. And next we have Umbra Invasion number 5. Gillen and Getty. Kieran Gillen is the guy who writes Wicked and the Divine, and I have been really enjoying this one. Let's see what happened last issue. I got it. It's funny because issue 4 was the first one I got on my pull list. Then I got 1, 2, and 3 a couple weeks after. So I read 1, 2, and 3 after I read 4. But I think 4 was the characters from the first series. Ugh, gross. The first series, our main British character, who I didn't read the whole first series. I read the first 10 issues digitally and then stopped. I want to get real physical copies of them sometime. She made it to the Americas somehow as the Nazi Supermen. I've attacked the U.S. and destroyed Boston, and they've destroyed some of the American forces. Look, there's a back cover too. Umbra Invasion. Look at that little ding and bend, and that's the problem with getting the only copy of a book in your comic store is Diamond doesn't always ship I've just noticed when they ship 50 of them, you got a good chance of them being good. But when they ship 1 or 2 of them, you get a good chance of dings and donks in your comic. Matter of fact, wasn't that? Didn't I just see ETA Nick on his one of his chats say something about he wants to make a video about how Diamond doesn't ship their comics right and doesn't care? But anyway, maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was. But I definitely find that with the small press single issues. But Umbra Invasion, this is my favorite new comic that I've discovered in the last month or two, and if you like World War II superhero stories, check it out. And next we have Walking Dead, issue 166, No Surrender. We all know what Walking Dead is. There's not too much to say about it. Except the big war is over, and now one of the nearby towns wants to take over Rick's town. And I don't think they want that to happen. But, man, 160, that Charlie Adler is something else. Grinding out 150, no, what? Tony Moore maybe did the first 6? 160 issues? That's crazy. That's a crazy amount of issues to draw in a row of a book. But he and everybody else keeps getting it done every month, and I've liked it all the way through. So Walking Dead 166. And next we have Captain Kidd number 5, which is the last issue of Captain Kidd. I don't know how they're going to wrap up this story all in one issue. We've kind of discovered not much about Captain Kidd, this guy who gets superpowers. He's a 40-year-old man, and when he says a magic word, turns into an 18-year-old superhero. And some mysterious woman has come by to tell him he's part of some time experiment, and he needs to do this and that and whatever. And I think this is I was only collecting 2 Aftershock books so far, and both of them have ended. They restarted Rough Riders, but it didn't get on my pull again, so I think this is, I have to look for another Aftershock book to get, maybe. But Captain Kidd's been fun. Mark Waid, Tom Payer, Wilfredo Torres. Nice little superhero book. Give it a look. And next, from the pages of Savage Dragon, we have Mighty Man number 1. I'm not even sure what this is. It's a one-shot I saw. And this might be, I think there was a Mighty Man story that ran in the back of Savage Dragon a little while ago. And I don't know if they decided to collect it or if this is a new one. Either way, I don't remember the story. Yeah, must be the 8 pages because they're giving us part 2s and whole new logos. So I'm guessing I'm guessing I already have this in the back of my Savage Dragons. But I figured, why not get it all by itself and give it a read like that? Because I don't remember it at all. What the heck? And here is Paper Girls, issue number 13. I've been liking these covers on this better than the first 6 issues or so. Nice wraparound cover. That one might be one of the better covers for Paper Girls. But I never know what to expect from this book. It's all sorts of crazy. The story... Now we're back in time, sometime in the Stone Age, where they found a woman with her little baby. There's our Stone Age woman right there. and then some other time traveler showed up on her ship. There's this time traveler ship, and got ambushed by some caveman or something. It's like, this story can go anywhere, and it's okay with me. You know, it's like I'm fine with just it going. Like I said, I don't know how I think Howler Mouse put together he put a video out a couple weeks ago, and he read the first trade of it and wasn't too happy with it. So I don't know how it would read all as one, because it kind of goes in so many crazy directions. It doesn't really have your standard first act, second act, third act storytelling. So it's everything's first and second act so far, and it's just nutty. But that's all right with me. And next we have Motor Girl. Look, that one's got a little ding up there too, in the corner. Oh, I know my shop doesn't do that. I know that's how it's shipped. I've been enjoying this one thoroughly. I like that cover. Good yellow and orange color scheme. This is one where I'm not sure what's real and what's not real, but I think the UFOs are real now. I think this story is really going to be about UFOs. And we have these guys here. Some big corporation that wants to buy Motor Girl's boss's land because they want UFOs. And there's this big lug was trying to drive Motor Girl off his land, but now he thinks his friend has been kidnapped by UFOs, so I think he wants to hang out with her. Oh, and there's the playing tennis. There's the little old lady who owns the land. So, well, like I said, it's a pretty nutty story. It's unlike his other ones. It's more like the nutty parts of Strangers in Paradise than Rachel Rising or Echo. But I'm with Terry Moore, whatever he does, so here we go with another issue. And finally, I'll give you a little look at my background art, which is random little drawings on these size. This is scrap Bristol that I used to get way back when in the 90s from when I worked at Marvel, where they would have their blue line boards printed up that they handed out to the artists, and this was kind of left over from this size paper was left over from I guess, I don't know what size they cut it out of, but they cut it up into 11 by 17 slices, and this is what's left of the big sheet of paper they cut the 11 by 17 slices at. So these used to be all over Marvel, because Strathmore would ship them this scrap paper along with the regular real drawing on paper for artists to draw on. So it's like everybody used to take the scrap paper and draw on it because it's good paper, and I used it for years and years until I finally ran out. I had thousands of sheets of it or something. Well, these are just little pieces of drawings. I think these ones are undated. I think they were from around 2007, 2006. I believe I turned that one into a print. I am not sure what that's from. Maybe one of my comics I did, but I don't remember which one. When did I ever draw a girl painting? I don't know. That's weird. This I remember. This part went into what? I have this hand in one of my prints that I made years ago. I don't know if I ever did anything with that guy. Some weird rubber guy. Sometimes I make drawings and put them away. I have these all scanned in so I can look through them as digital files. A little easier than looking through a pile of. Oh, look, there's a date on that one. 5/27/08. Oh, there's a date on this one too. This is when I must have started dating everything. In 08, as a matter of course. Before then, I dated things. Back before then I could remember things, but it's like once so many years pass, you're like, wow, I can't remember when 10 years have gone by since I did this. Am I supposed to remember exactly when I did it? So, like I said, these are probably that same period, but just a little look at some working drawings, and you guys have a good week out there.